to the Rally in the Valley.
Hey, Mikey here. Welcome to Rally in the Valley, the series where I take rally-tuned cars down my custom rally stage in Forza Horizon 5 to see which car reigns supreme in its PI class. Today we have an interesting mix of vehicles in the third group of A class taking to the course, going over a bumpy and technical 4.2-mile course to determine who is the champion of A class rally. The rules are simple. There will be 2 chances to put down a clean time. If you miss a checkpoint and can't make it back before the reset, the run is restarted. If it happens again, that's a DQ. And now, a quick look at the standings from the first 2 groups of Class A. And first up in the group is the 2018 Dodge Durango SRT. This SUV has got 947 horsepower, making it a very powerful vehicle, but not with the greatest power-to-weight ratio. But it does know how to put its power down, and kind of got mixed feelings on the Durango because I know it is a cross-country build, and it will either be a massive handful for most of the course, but it could really come in handy, the extra weight of not allowing it to actually get up in the air or be too affected by the jumps. And as you can see, there is a little bit of lack of grip that a lot of vehicles do have on the tarmac section to start, but going into the valley you can just see that it's not really sliding very well. That one turn, it just didn't turn very well. I also couldn't kick it around very well. And you can see there, it just slightly got sideways. That turn, you either need to fully commit sideways or stay planted, but that halfway in between turn is very difficult to do anything with, because it makes it hard to tell what it's going to do coming off the corner. So as you can see, slowing down, knowing the 947 horsepower under the hood could make that jump a little bit on the painful side. And as we get back onto the tarmac section, I'm feeling the power under the hood, but I'm also feeling that this really wants a little more side-to-side room to be able to throw it around a little better. I just feel like I have to hit the brakes harder. I feel like I have to slow it down to be able to make it work for this course. But like I've said, this is really more of a cross-country build where you have a lot of room to operate, where the checkpoints are far apart, they're wide, you have space. This may not be the strongest event for the Durango, though. I must say, it does feel like it is a good run so far, considering knowing the tune. As we head down the last tarmac section into the left hand, into the last dirt section, hit the edge of the anti-cheat pad, which isn't going to bounce you like it normally would, as that's a launch pad. Just hit the brace on the outside, kind of throwing it a little more to the outside. But as you can see, it's just very hard to... It's kind of a half-committed slide in there. It's not turning solidly on its own, but it's also not getting sideways and then picking up the throttle to get through as we go through the water and through the last turn, which has been a trouble point for a lot of vehicles crossing the line. And with a 3-minute 1.266 second time, that is going to put the Durango 8th out of 13 vehicles so far, but not a bad run considering. And up next, we have the 2020 Land Rover Defender 110X. This SUV is smaller weight-wise than the Durango and about 100 less horsepower. So it should feel comparable, I would think, to the Durango, but the Land Rover started off feeling like it was kind of mid. It felt like it didn't excel at anything, it didn't lack at anything, but it just didn't feel like it had what it took for a rally. Again, this is another vehicle that I would trust in a cross-country event as we get a little bit wide going into the valley, as the way this vehicle felt planted, it felt like it may have more grip than it actually did at times. As we go through the valley, it seemed like this section, as it could open up, as I just could basically go full throttle through that section. It had decent pickup to get up and go after a moment, but here we get a little bit of a short braking, as again, the feeling of the vehicle just was really weird. So that short braking it felt like it was actually going faster than it actually was. So I never really meshed with the vehicle in this instance. Like I said, in cross country, I do like this vehicle. I do like the Defender in a cross country setting, but in this setting, it just wasn't it. So as we go on to the gravel again, it just feels kind of planted. It's one of those things, it's hard to feel what it's actually going to do. Like I've said, it just feels like it just feels like it has more grip than it actually does. But when you try to treat it like it has less grip than it does, it gives more grip. It's kind of a weird feeling. It's hard to describe in words that don't sound like word salad, basically. So it was just a very strange feeling vehicle for this run. As we head down the last tarmac section into the left-hand turn, this time not hitting the edge of the anti-cheat launch pad, and I am going to make a little bit of a mistake here as going through this section. I got thrown a little bit to the right, not too badly, but I just kind of kept drifting a little to the right instead of staying on course. But even trying to correct there, it just didn't feel like it wanted to go back online. So it, again, just a really strange feeling for this vehicle. Again, just not the right forum for it as we head across the finish line. And we'll be putting down a time of 3 minutes, 4.903 seconds. And that will be good for 12th, the last of the vehicles that is actually somewhat capable and knows what it's doing here. And next around we have the 1994 Huniken Kazi version 2, with a cheeky little livery that was come up with for a trial. So this car does have some experience in actual racing, and as it says, it's more of a handling tune, and just to allow itself to be grip and controlled slides through the corner. So if I need to get it sideways, it really holds well and gets back in line very quickly. Though the same with most of the vehicles in this competition, the off-road race tires really aren't doing it any favors on the tarmac section. And you'll see here in the valley section is where it starts to really look its best, as I can just throw it basically anywhere I want. It isn't the fastest, but it will hold wherever I try to put it. And as you can just see, can get it turned through. As you can see, just turn it sideways. It got a little bit better of a slide, controlled slide than the Land Rover Defender. That I did get a little bit to the left of where I wanted to take that turn. But the Kazi recovered no problem. Slow it down to take that jump, because a lightweight Kazi like this would definitely get airborne very easily off that jump, and a few vehicles have, to this point, gotten really launched off that jump. But as we head down the next tarmac section, again, not the greatest of grip, but a lot better than some vehicles. So as we head down the gravel section, I really felt more comfortable at times putting two wheels on the grass. There are a couple sections where the two wheels on the grass really did help a lot more than everything being on the gravel, though as you can see it was very capable of handling itself on the gravel. As we should get 2 wheels on the grass just right there. And it really held itself together well. Lighter weight car, good handling. So you can see just a little bit sideways on the tarmac section, which isn't ideal, but again, it wasn't a big slide as we get around wide to make sure that we don't hit the side of the anti-cheat pads, as the Kazi would get sideways on 2 wheels if it hit. Going down the last dirt path took the path right instead of letting it get launched. Went farther to the left, not making the same mistake as the Land Rover Defender, which did get a little bit drift off to the right, but the Kazi again makes it through nicely. And for as light of weight and as low horsepower as it is comparatively, it got through the water very well, which has been a problem for some cars, and came across the line at 3 minutes, 0.232 seconds, which is going to put it 6th. Not a bad run, but just not enough to crack the top 5. Up next, we start the 3 BMW different M Series cars from 3 generations with the 1981 BMW M1. And honestly, I don't remember where this car came from, but it felt good while driving it, while testing it, so I figure why not? And with a bunch of BMWs, it really felt like it had a place in this competition. And really, it felt good right off the bat, as the acceleration and the launch were just really good on this M1. It just felt really good. I mean, there's not a lot that I can say about it, as it gets nicely into the valley. So usually cars that are good on the tarmac section aren't as good in the valley, but this M1 just really just took off. It wanted to take off. And as you can see, makes it through the valley very cleanly. Very under control. And despite its lighter weight, other than that bobble right there, it held itself together very well. It didn't feel like it was getting thrown around or anything by any of the bumps on the course. So as we head towards the trees over that little hill that could cause problems for the M1, again, just hit the brake at the right point and it slowed down, got back down nicely, and it's just handling very well. Using that grass for a little bit of an extra runoff to not scrub as much speed. I mean, this M1 just felt really good. Going down the gravel section, little bit out wide, but didn't get into the wall, so that didn't really hurt too much. Again, going down the second gravel section. In this car, it's just hard to describe how good this car felt, though that section could have been a little bit dicier, but the car did stay under control enough that I was able to drive it through the checkpoint flag. Here we go in the last tarmac section, and again, just a little bit of loss of grip, but nothing terrible. We're heading down into the last left-hand turn down the dirt path on the home stretch. And this is where it'd be really easy for a car to, especially a lighter weight car, to get thrown off to the side, but again, it just didn't get launched by that hill that has thrown cars off to the right. And as we head into the hairpin section, it's putting down a really good run right now. All it has to do is really get through the water, and the water will determine what kind of run it gets. And going through the left-hand side of the water may have helped, because it comes across the line in 2 minutes, 55.927 seconds. That's going to put it in first by 1/1000th of a second over the 037, and what had looked dominant is now been caught. Up next in BMW class is the 2008 BMW M3, and I don't really know why I tuned this car, but I figured it was ready, and in testing it was at least somewhat capable, so why not give it a shot, see if maybe it has good bones to it and deserves to get a chance to race somewhere, or if it was just a PR stunt special. And getting off the line, it just really feels like it was a PR stunt special. It really felt like it didn't have any control or any grounding or anything. It just kind of wanted to be all over the place. So all this weaving and bobbing and all over all this is just... This car really did not have all the handling I thought it did. Because what I do in testing is I just take it on a hard drive around the map, try to get it up to speed, get it around corners and all that. And if it did that, I really gave it a spot to be able to shine. And as you can see, it actually hit a bump and got very sideways. And then it hit the side of one of the anti-cheat launch pads in the middle there. So the M3 was really not having a great run. It really wasn't the greatest of cars to be in this competition. I decided to give it a shot, see what it had, and it didn't really have as much as I thought it had to begin with. So as we head over the small little hill, it didn't get launched, but at this point I'm kind of looking forward to this run being over, and I'm not even halfway through the course yet as we go on to the tarmac section. At this point, it's still feeling like it's all over the place. The back end doesn't know where it wants to be. The front end is just kind of... I don't know what the front end wants to do. It doesn't want to turn at times. At times it wants to oversteer. It really felt like there was no consistency in this car whatsoever. So, like I said, I'm thinking this was just a PR stunt specialist. As we head down the next gravel section, it found a section that it could actually get along with to some degree until it lost rear grip and slid into a tree. So, I mean, really, this car was kind of overmatched from the start. Almost missed a checkpoint as, again, it felt like the rear end of the car lifted and the front end sat. So it really was a weird feeling car. This run in no way, shape, or form felt competitive, felt good. It really wasn't enjoyable, and I'm at this point glad we're almost at the finish line and that I haven't missed the checkpoint to have to redo this run, because it really did not feel good. As you can see, trying to correct to get it into the shipping containers. Again, it lost the back end. And mind you, this is all-wheel drive, so losing the back end is a really strange feeling with an all-wheel drive car, but it gets, well, struggles its way around the corner to get across the finish line. 3 minutes 15.414 seconds. That's going to put it in 15th, ahead of Why Am I Here, Hellcat, and the DeBerti, which was DQ. And up next is the 2016 BMW M2 Coupe, which is actually the same as a car that ran earlier in the first group, but this is a different tune for it. This one is my tune, as opposed to the one from the first group, which was tuned by Fox. And one of the problems I had with this car is the lack of speed and hitting a rock. Yeah, that's a corner cutting measure to make sure to stay on track, and I did turn a little bit early in there and hit that rock, but for the most part, the M2 felt okay. Again, it just didn't feel like it had the get up and go that it needed to get through this course well. It feels like it's more of a actual racing tune instead of trying to do a time trial tune. You know, where you have other cars around you and you're competing for position and you have to alter lines and stuff like that. This car really felt like it was stronger there, even though it doesn't look like it wandering off with a lot of understeer there. But for the most part, it really is a better handling tune as it gets through that corner. Again, just the feeling of lack of get up and go in this car was kind of the problem. And that awkward landing off that jump really didn't help. as it felt like it took a second or so to recover and get just back sorted. So we head on to the next tarmac section. The M2 is doing all right. And we head on to the gravel section, and again, just brake a little late. Felt like I had a little bit more grip than I did, and that just messed that section up entirely. So as we head over the road into the next of the gravel sections, again, just got to make sure that I keep my line, go by the construction equipment, go by the video board. Everything feels okay here, but just earlier in the run, it didn't have it, and then lost grip going through that corner and ended up nose first in a tree. So basically at this point, the run is not going to be good, but I don't feel like it would have gained too many spots in the standings. It still would have probably been on the low end of the 3-minute plus group. So I think maybe it would have been 3:08 or so. But, I mean, this car just didn't really have as much get up and go as I needed it to have. Which, at least that can be looked at going into future uses of the car. Also need to make sure the back end doesn't lose as much grip at times, because it did feel like the back end could get a little light in places as we go around the hairpin. Through the water again on the left-hand side really helped. Got a little bit of understeer, but back across the line. And that's going to be a 3-minute, 12.277 second time. That is going to put it up in 15th, but again, not the greatest of runs. And last up for today is the 2022 Cupra Tavascan Concept. The only electric in the entire competition. It's an interesting drive, but I already noticed something off the bat with it, and it's something I have a hard time with in all of Forza Horizon, is electrics are kind of weird to me. The not shifting gears is kind of an odd thing to me, so I spent a lot of time during this run actually trying to shift gears, and luckily it wasn't throwing itself in reverse. And also electrics just, in this game, just feel like they have a lot of weight to them, and it feels like their center of gravity is very low, so it just feels very weird to drive electrics. But overall, the Tavascan was not a terrible vehicle to drive. It was just very different. And like I said, it is the only electric across the entirety of the competition. But going through the course, I mean, it felt decent enough. It's had a little propensity to slide a little bit more than I would expect it to, but it wasn't anything uncontrollable. It wasn't anything horrible. The one thing that was nice about it, though, is being able to basically go full throttle off the corners when I needed to, and it would pick up and respond immediately, which could have been a bad thing, but really it felt more under control than I would have expected to for something that has all its torque available immediately. So as we head on to the first of the gravel sections, the speed really did feel more controllable. Again, it just felt really weird not having to shift. So I'm really glad it didn't shift into reverse at any point when I tried to up and down shift. I think it took about to here to remember, yeah, this is electric, don't shift. So, again, just good solid base for a car. Has some decent speed to it. Did get a little loose there. The back end spun out from under it and it just kind of skidded off to the field. And here I decided to take the turn really wide. That was actually a strategic decision, to take the turn very wide to try to get it in as straight into that dirt path as possible. But again, took that far to the left. I was able to get it back over in time. as it did shoot over to the right very wickedly. I wouldn't have expected that from having a low center of gravity car. As we get around the hairpin section into the final turn, almost turned in a little early, which into the stones, and crossing the line with a 3-minute 3.635 second time. And that will be it for the run for today. The Tavascan finishing in 14th for the day. And really, again, there's still a few groups, that 3-minute to 3-minute 4 group, and then at the top you have the 2 at 2:55.92, and a couple up to just about 3 minutes. So you really have two groups forming here. But that's going to be it for today. Join me next time as S1's final group will be going, and there will be a few trucks there, so that will be kind of fun. And the last A-Class group will be in just a few weeks, as that will also end the series. So until next time, have a good one, and I will see you later.